Zeigst du, wie es geht? You can also put this one here. Yeah, you know, prima donna. You can put here.
Oh, if you split it up.
Why? I know. Yeah, you know something like that. That's his for the other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, he'll say something. Ja, mach das. Ja, रावणताकर मकनतास्कर गोपीजन वस्त्रहारे रावणताकर मकनतास्कर गोपीजन वस्त्रहारे ब्रजरागल गोप वृंदावन चित्तहरे वंशीधारे ब्रजरागल गोप वृंदावन चित्तहरे वंशीधारे योगीन्द्र वंदन श्री नंदनंदन व्रज जन भज हारे योगेन्द्र वंदन श्री नंदनंदन व्रज जन भज हारे नवीन राधा रूप मनोहर मोहन वंशी बिहारे नवीन राधा रूप मनोहर मोहन वंशी बिहारे यशोधनंदन कंसनिसूदन निकुंज रस विलासे यशोधनंदन कंसनिसूदन निकुंज रस विलासे कदम्ब कानन रस पराजन वृंद विपिन निवासे 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 आनंद वर्धन प्रेम निकेतन पुलसर यज्ञ काम आनंद वर्धन प्रेम निकेतन पुलसर यज्ञ काम गोपंग गानन चित्त विनोदन समस्त गुण गण धाम गोपंग गानन चित्त विनोदन समस्त गुण गण धाम यमुना जीवन केली परायण मानस चंद्र चकोर यमुना जीवन केली परायण मानस चंद्र चकोर नाम सुधारस का कृष्ण यस राघवचन मन मोरा नाम सुधारस का कृष्ण यस राघवचन मन मोरा विभावरिश लोक प्रवेश निद्रा छदी उद्धव जीवा विभावरिश आलोक प्रवेश निद्रा छदी Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Kadamba Kanana Swami ki jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Maybe you can sit a bit on this side that we can see Guru Maharaj. Better?
There's a lot of space here.
Yes. Maybe you want to sit on this side?
You can stand up, take the cushion.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear friends, and well-wishers of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. Thank you for joining us today in remembering and glorifying Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "My dear Vaishnava, seeing a person like you is the perfection of one's eyesight. Touching your lotus feet is the perfection of the sense of touch. And glorifying your good qualities is the tongue's real activity. For in the material world, it is very difficult to find a pure devotee of the Lord." Kadamba Kanana Maharaj is such a jewel in the movement of Krishna consciousness. Last Thursday, in the holiest place of Sri Vrindavan Dham, in the presence of his spiritual master and disciples, hearing the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name, Guru Maharaj left this planet to journey to the spiritual world. His qualities, deeds, character, and achievements are all out of this world. The Swiss Yatra is incredibly fortunate to have had his precious association for over 20 years. His vibrant kirtans, ever-fresh lectures, and extraordinary kind and lovely association with the devotees have melted the heart of Switzerland and the world. Today we wished to come together to glorify, remember, and appreciate Guru Maharaj and his precious association and memories. We will have glorification of Guru Maharaj by several senior devotees and disciples of Guru Maharaj. At 6:10 there will be Guru Puja, and then 6:30 there will be Gaur Arati, and afterwards we will serve Prasadam feast in the honor of Guru Maharaj. So the devotees who are speaking some glorification for Guru Maharaj, we plan 10 minutes for each person, so maybe you can try to look at the time that we can go on with the program. On behalf of Guru Maharaj disciple, we thank each one of you for joining us and giving us solace. We, the disciples of Guru Maharaj, are grateful for your support and presence so we can process our emotions and feelings in the family of Srila Prabhupada. First, we'd like to invite Krishna Prema Prabhu. He had the association of Guru Maharaj since the beginning of his Krishna consciousness life. We are pleased he will share his words and thoughts about Guru Maharaj with us. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. Yeah, also from my side, thank you very much for joining us. The glorification of a Vaishnava is always a very auspicious occasion, in a sense that together we can remember these great personalities, and today especially His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. I would like to read, I have written an article, and some of you have maybe already read it, but still I'd like to read that text, and maybe just add a few words extra. The article is called No Greater Gift, My Gratitude to His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami. And when Keshav, His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj visited Switzerland last year, I believe, Maharaj gave a beautiful class speaking about self-confidence and Krishna confidence. How by actually becoming aware of Krishna we become truly self-confident. And then Maharaj gave different inspirations how we can become more confident, and he said, knowing that there can be no greater gift, know that there can be no greater gift than having someone in your life that has more faith in you than you have faith in yourself. And Kadamba Kanana Maharaj certainly was such a person for me, that he always encouraged me in so many ways. And in November 22 last year, I went to Vrindavan with specifically the aim to see Maharaj a last time. And when I got a phone call from Maharaj's servant that I can come, and then I went to see Maharaj, and it was somehow quite surreal. Like, I was there and I knew this is the last time I will see Maharaj. And that time he was still quite good, like, he was a little weaker on that day, but still he was like joking and sitting in the couch, and I was there to say goodbye. And it was kind of course I expressed my gratitude. I told Maharaj how grateful I am for his association and for whatever he gave to us and gave to me. But still it was hard to understand and believe what is going on. And then the last image of Maharaj that I have, he was sitting on his couch, and then with beadbag, and then when I said I will leave now, then Maharaj kind of bye-bye, like in his way, he was like bye-bye, like I couldn't believe, like bye-bye, this is and then Maharaj said, like, we need kind leaders, you have my blessings, and he kind of encouraged me to take up responsibility in the movement, and he kind of just he said, maybe you're successful. And it was a very emotional moment, because again Maharaj was in a very joking way, but then again in a very deep way, saying goodbye to me. And I knew when I walked out of that door, I knew that was the last time I see him. And still I couldn't believe that this is actually reality. So when I walked back to the apartment where I stayed, I felt like there is so much more I wanted to tell to Maharaj, and I was not in the proper mindset to tell. So I wrote this article just to express my heart. I'm grateful to you, dear Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. I'm eternally indebted to you for your unlimited kindness and encouragement. I'm grateful to you for touching my heart with your kirtans. I first met you in a town called Wiel, St. Gallen, in Switzerland, at a house program. Your bhajan pierced my heart with the first tone. I was new to Krishna consciousness, but listening to your singing brought tears to my eyes. I could understand that this mantra singing is very powerful. You gave me faith. I was wondering, who is this person who can awaken such spiritual emotions within me? Is he my guru? You were a young sannyasi at that time and did not yet accept disciples. Nevertheless, I could understand that you will play a very important part in my life. I'm grateful to you for introducing me to Srila Prabhupada's room in Vrindavan. During my first visit to Vrindavan, I was fortunate enough to go with you on a parikram with a small group of Swiss Sankirtan devotees. It was you who introduced me to Prabhupada's room at the Radha Damodar Mandir. You glorified Prabhupada and sang beautiful bhajan. You brought me closer to Prabhupada and to Vrindavan Dham, which is not very surprising, as you are a Prabhupada man and Vrindavan is your eternal home. I'm grateful to you for being so approachable. At first I was bewildered and I thought, he's a sannyasi and I'm meant to fall at his feet, but he's cracking jokes, laughing with us as if you just would be another brahmachari. You have always been so approachable. Although you deserve all respect and honor of the world, you never expect any special treatment. There was always this lightness, this kindness and this friendly atmosphere around you. Over the years I developed my relationship with you and you would lovingly call me Mr. Prem, Prem, what's up? How did I deserve your friendship? I do not know. Your kindness and compassion will be remembered by thousands of devotees who had similar experiences. I have no doubts about that. I'm grateful to you for inspiring me to study Shastra and becoming a preacher. When I accepted the service as a temple president at ISKCON Zurich, you encouraged me to go deeper in my study of Shastra. And I remember that was in Flumserberg. We had some retreat in Flumserberg. That year Dina Bandhu Prabhu also came with us. And I just had accepted this role as a temple president, and Maharaj really made a point, okay, now you become a manager, but don't forget to become a sadhu. No, you should focus on the spiritual side also. And then Maharaj took his laptop and he took a memory stick and then he downloaded some files, Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the Bhagavatam. And he said, the next 10 years you prepare yourself, you read, you study Shastra. And in this way Maharaj encouraged me to also simultaneously advance spiritually. And then Maharaj also told me about how he led his life as a temple president in Vrindavan. And I was amazed to hear Maharaj told me that he would get up every morning, he would chant most of the rounds before Mangal Arti. And that in itself, you know, like as a temple president, you have such a tough life, and then still he got up early, chanted his rounds, and then after Mangal he read Prabhupada's books. And by the time, you know, after the morning program, he was ready to face any challenge and difficulties because he was spiritually surcharged. Quite amazing. And also he told me, try to give lectures as much as you can. Because if you preach, that gives you life. And Maharaj told me that he actually made a point that he would preach, he could give a lecture every day. Of course in Vrindavan you can do that, there's so many departments. So one day you preach to the Gurukul, one day you preach to the Sankirtan devotees, one day you preach to the life members. But he made it a point to give a lecture every day, just to stay fired up in Krishna consciousness, to be fixed in philosophy. I'm grateful to you for encouraging me to be loyal to my vision. You repeatedly encouraged me to focus on becoming a sadhu and not so much a manager. You emphasized that this movement needs more sadhus. You also advised me to be more a prophet, one who gives a vision, than just a priest, one who performs rituals. You also cautioned me to not just become an instrument in its institution. And then Maharaj told me something. He said, at the end of life, I do not just want a statement written on my tombstone saying, he was a loyal soldier. No. I want to do something extraordinary for Prabhupada's movement. Something according to my nature, my abilities. An individual contribution to society that makes a difference. You told me that I should never forget my own vision. So I'm so grateful for your example of being a staunch follower of the Parampara and simultaneously very broad-minded, having a huge vision for a progressive movement that meets the needs of the hour while preserving its essence at the same time. And that was, I personally felt, Maharaj was always so encouraging. As I said, he was very fixed, at the same time very broad-minded. And also, I remember I got a chance twice actually to bring Maharaj to a thermal bath, and it was only myself and Maharaj, so I got a lot of time to talk to him personally. So we went to Bad Sursach the first time, and there Maharaj told me that whatever service I do will prepare me for the next service. So I should always see my service as a preparation for the next service. And of course he gave the famous example, I'm sure many of you have heard Maharaj telling this example of the juggling with the balls, that we always have to find balance in life. Like one ball is sadhana, spiritual life, one ball is the seva, the mission, one bowl is our private needs, and that we always have to juggle and make sure that we find balance in life. Another time I brought him to this Zürich Hürlimann thermal bath. He didn't like it so much. He said the other one was better. Because it's quite sensual there, like see this young couples embracing each other in the water, and in Surzach it's more like the old ladies or like men doing some physical. But for me that was a very important exchange that I had with Maharaj, because my Guru Maharaj left early, and I took shelter of some Shiksha gurus, which I'm extremely grateful, and of course Maharaj was one among those Shiksha gurus. But sometimes for me it was difficult because my heart was still with my Guru, and I knew, if he gave me instruction I had no doubts. But with other sadhus sometimes I was not sure, and they also had different moods, amongst my Shiksha gurus they had different moods, so I was a bit confused. And Maharaj very strongly preached to me and said, no, you should grow up in your spiritual life. You should be you have a guru, your guru is Bhakti Swarup Damodar, and you should develop your relationship with him, and you listen to your heart, and you do what you think, what your guru tells you. You don't need to depend on others. So he encouraged me to of course I still took his advice and I took his shiksha, but just that point, encouraging to grow up in spiritual life. I'm grateful to you for urging me to dedicate my life to Srila Prabhupada's mission. Just a couple of hours after giving sannyas to Suttapa Das, now His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Swami, you asked me in the Bhaktivedanta Manor garden in front of everyone, so when will you be on the list? Meaning the sannyasi waiting list. I was speechless. What could I say? I do not feel qualified to take such a step. But you always believed in me. For years you had encouraged me to fully dedicate myself to preaching. I remember a conversation that we had in 2014. That was in a car on the way to the Surzach. You asked me, how old are you? When I told you that I'm 37, you continued saying, you get old. I took sannyas when I was 40. I said, at the retreat you mentioned we must absorb ourselves to be fixed, so I think I will have to do that first. Yes, you have another 3 years. You counteracted. I argued, but Maharaj, I'm not a traveler preacher, I'm a manager, a temple president. Then you said, this is also preaching. You can take sannyas and then manage on a spiritual strength. And also preaching is not only a reason to accept sannyas. You can follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said to his mother, an ordinary son brings only mundane wealth. I'm going to bring the wealth of Prayojan Siddhi, the ultimate goal. Thereby you will get the lotus feet of Krishna, which are the ultimate source of all fortune. And when I faced some challenge in my brahmacharya, you wrote a powerful letter to me saying, what to say about this? Life is so short, and to invest so much in something so temporary, and to make such a big sacrifice. Just remain fixed in your brahmacharya a little longer. Why worry about yourself and personal sex desire? Let's worry about all these conditioned souls trapped in ignorance in a material world. Let's use all our energy to pull them out of Maya, and in the course of it, we will pull ourselves out of Maya. Your mood has always been preaching, helping others and sharing Krishna consciousness. I pray that one day I may also feel such compassion in my heart. And last but not least, I always remember you as an embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. You're truly a Gaura Priyajana, or a dear devotee of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. In one of your last lectures at the Krishna Balaram Hall in Vrindavan, you spoke about Srila Prabhupada's lions at his Vyasa Sangh. I like these 2 lions. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was known as a lion guru. Amongst his disciples he had a lion, Srila Prabhupada. Amongst my disciples, I also would like to have some lions. That's the mood of the parampara. It's all about empowerment. This is how I always remember you, as one who was empowered himself by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and one who was able to empower others. I feel privileged to be part of those fortunate souls who got your association. I pray that I may be able to follow your instructions, and in this way will be able to please the parampara. You will always have a special place in my heart, and I dearly miss you. Know that there can be no greater gift than having someone in your life that has more faith in you than you have in yourself. So yeah, that's how I personally remember Maharaj, as someone who had an incredible, he was incredibly empowered. We all will agree on that he was such a powerhouse, we can say, a powerhouse of Bhakti Shakti, and whoever came in touch with him immediately felt that an enormous energy and inspiration. So he was himself amazingly empowered, but he also was able to empower so many others, and encourage and inspire so many others. And although it's extremely painful that we have lost Maharaj's association, at the same time we can be extremely grateful that we had such sadhu sangha. As we know, sadhu sangha is something such rare, and many of us had a lot of association with Maharaj. I know also amongst the disciples you had, Maharaj was so accessible and so easily approachable. So we can really be grateful for that association and deepen our relationship based on prayers and based on following his instructions. And I'm sure many of you have received personal instructions, and these instructions are what keeps us going now. That these few personal instruction that he gave us, and of course the general instruction as well. But that's through that Vani we stay in touch with Maharaj, and always remember that he's still with us, and we can please him by the way we act and the way we perform our Krishna consciousness. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay. Gaurahari Prabhu is not here. Huh? Yeah. Yamuna Kelly, Mataji. We have Yamuna Kelly, Mataji? Oh, she's translating. Okay. Yamuna Kelly Mataji, she's one of our pujaris. She actually is originally from Ukraine. She came because of the war, and she took shelter at our temple here in Zurich. Back in the Ukraine, she served as a head pujari. And is a very wonderful devotee, has very deep realizations, and a wonderful speaker also on the Bhagavatam. And she also has some personal experience with Maharaj that she wants to share with us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I am very surprised that I am sitting here and speaking about Maharaja, but somehow I have a very few English, so I did some notes for me. I had only a few meetings with His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaja, but they made a strong impression on me. I met Maharaja in Mayapur when I was studying in the Mayapur Deity Worship Academy. Our studies were very intense, 6 days a week from morning to evening, plus homeworks. There was no feeling that you were in a holy dham, just study, study and study. So one Saturday I decided to skip study and go to parikrama. The teacher said that he would put absenteeism, but I still went to the parikrama, and I didn't regret about it. It turned out that parikrama was in Mamagachi, the birthplace of Vrindavan Das Thakur, along with His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, His Mercy Jananivas Prabhu, and His Mercy Pankanjanri Prabhu. It was very great parikrama. We sailed in several very big boats. First, we sailed down the Ganges, then up to Mamagachi along a narrow and shallow tributary of the Ganges. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaja and a lot of Prabhu were on the first large boat. There were mostly Matajis on the second boat. We sailed for almost 2 hours, and Maharaja sang kirtan all this way. But we couldn't hear Maharaja's kirtan from our Mataji's boat. In Mamagachi, there was a short story about this amazing place, and kirtan, kirtan, and kirtan. We stayed in Mamagachi for the whole day, and almost the whole day there was kirtan of Maharaja. As for me, it was a very unusual parikrama. I was used to parikrama being a long story about a holy place and a very short kirtan. Here it was the other way, a short story and a big, big kirtan. But the kirtan was exciting and I was delighted. In the evening, we approached the boats to sail back to Mayapur. Several Matajis, disciples of Maharaja, and I with them, climbed into Maharaj's boat and sat at the back of the boat. Prabhus came and tried to kick us out into the Mataji boat, but we clung to the boat and did not leave. Maharaj came up and said that Matajis could stay. We were very, very happy. We sat at the back of the boat. The boats sailed down the tributary to the Ganges. Maharaja sang kirtan. The boat sailed into the Ganges, and the kirtan gradually began to grow. The devotees jumped up and began to dance. We were sailing in the middle of the Ganges. The red sun was slowly setting. There was a huge kirtan. The devotees were dancing. The boat was rocking from side to side, and it seemed that it was about to capsize. I thought it must be very auspicious to drown in the Ganges in such elevated company with such elevated kirtan. Nevertheless, we reached the shore, and the kirtan continued in the land. Never in my life I have been in kirtan for so long, and I was very, very happy. Also in Mayapur, I attended the class of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaja. In Mayapur, I listened to many, many classes by famous and very famous preachers. But a few moments of the class by His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaja is engraved in my memory. Maharaja said, quoting Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the devotees enjoy the pastimes of the Lord according to their ability, according to their spiritual level, just as birds. Birds can fly at different heights according to their ability. So, a hen is able to fly for a short time and not very high, and an eagle is able to soar high in the sky for hours. Maharaj joked, I got a very, very low birth because I was born in the Netherlands. But I feel like a hen that Srila Prabhupada threw very high and made it possible to soar like an eagle. I often think of this comparison of Maharaja, and I also feel like a hen that flies well beyond its capacity due to Srila Prabhupada. And Maharaja also said that in school he really disliked geography. I live in Ukraine, in a city that is now called Dnieper. And before that, it was called Dnepropetrovsk. And Maharaj said that he was arguing with the geography teacher that there was no need to him to learn the names of cities, rivers, and so on. Maharaj said to the teacher, for example, Dnepropetrovsk, I have never been there, and I never will be. Why do I need these names? For me, it was very, very unexpected and pleasant to hear the name of my city from Maharaj in Mayapur. Returning home to Dnepropetrovsk, I told the presidents of our temple how wonderful Maharaj is in Mayapur, what wonderful kirtans he sings, and besides, he knows the name of our city. I offered to invite Maharaja to Dnepropetrovsk for Radha-yatra. We wrote him a letter. How lucky it will be for entire city to hear Maharaja's kirtan, but we were very unlucky and Maharaj did not come. However, I am very lucky. Only now, when Maharaja left this world, hearing about him, I came to know what a great personality he was. But without knowing anything about him, having met him only twice, and not personally, but at a parikrama and at a lecture, I received such strong impressions that I will not forget it for the rest of my life. Influencing people in this way is a sign of a truly great personality. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaja.
Thank you so much, Yamuna Kelly Mataji, for this beautiful contribution. Now next we will have Shyamananda Prabhu, who will sing a bhajan and maybe also will speak a few words to us. Shyamananda Prabhu, of course, doesn't require introduction. You all know him. He's a senior devotee of our Yatra and had a lot of association with Maharaj, also as the organizer of the Bhakti retreat, and I'm sure also before so much association. So thank you, Shyamananda Prabhu, for being with us.
So, thank you all for coming, and thank you for inviting me to say something. I was suggesting that we sing Yanila Premadana together. It is a tradition when a dear devotee has left the world that we sing this song. This song is all about separation from loved ones, from devotees, and I'd like to first read a translation. This song is from Narottam Das Thakur. Oh, you have that also. So, he who brought the treasure of divine love and was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So, this song is all about separation from devotees, and those who know about Narottam Das Thakur, he was a devotee actually living that mood of separation from Lord Chaitanya and his devotees. He was born a little bit after Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, and he was the embodiment of Lord Chaitanya's love for Krishna. And in his life, in his biography, he was always very unlucky, coming here and coming there, and getting to know that actually the great devotees had already passed away and gone back to the spiritual world. So this song is expressing this deep sadness. And devotees generally, when they are sad because of another dear devotee has left, they sing this song to try to cope with this sadness. ye anila premadhana karuna prachur ye anila premadhana karuna prachur ye anila premadhana karuna prachur he anila premadhana karuna prachur hena prabhu kota gela acharya thakur hena prabhu kota gela acharya thakur Kamara Svaruprupa Ghasanata Kamara Svaruprupa Kasanata Kadasa Raghunata Bhattita Pavan Kadasa Raghunata Patita Bhavan Gamara Bhattayuga Kakavira Kamara Bhattayuga Kakavira Eka Kale Kotagela Gauranatara Eka Kale Kotagela Gauranatara Pashane Koteva Mata Anare Pashiba Pashane Koteva Mata Anare Pashiva Gauranga gunera nidhe kota gele pava Garanga gunera nidhe kota gele pava Sisaba Sangira Sange Yekaila Vila Sisanga Sangira Sange Yekaila Vila Sesanga Napaya Kande Naratamada Sesanga Napaya Kande Naratamada Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, 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 Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. So, when devotees leave, we mourn, and there is nothing wrong with that, because only by allowing that sadness to really shake us, we will understand, we can truly understand what we have lost. So, do we want that sadness to go away as soon as possible? No. And another question is, since we know that actually these devotees are still present, we know the philosophy, does that mean we should not be sad at all? No, we should be sad, because especially when the spiritual master leaves, then it is like, for the disciple, it is like having lost the connection with Krishna. The only tangible connection with Krishna. So, through mourning, we can then finally discover that actually the spiritual master has left us an invaluable gift. He has, while being here, he has actually made sure that when he leaves, we inherit whatever he has done. So, Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, he was yes, he truly was a well-wisher to all that met him, to all of us. And for me, he was the personification of a perfect spiritual master. He was very compassionate, and when I think about his personality, he was somebody that accepted everyone as they are, and yeah, sorry. Thank you so much. So, yes, he accepted everyone as they are. At least that is what I felt. And I'm sure all of you had that same experience. He was very encouraging. You never felt that you're not important or that you're useless. He was very encouraging, and he was very expert, Krishna Premarupa told that already, in empowering others. So the acceptance point of view is for me that he was really a family man in the spiritual sense. He wanted everybody to become part of our big family. And this is not an ordinary family. It's generally we hear, or we often have heard, maybe Prabhupada built a house for everyone to live in, and if one is maybe still a little bit occupied with the external things of the society and whatever, one might think, yeah, but it's not really comfortable everywhere in all the rooms of ISKCON. But Kadamba Kanana Maharaj was a man who was thinking of the eternal family, the eternal spiritual family. Like he was practically inviting everybody just to go back to Godhead with him. And the encouragement part is I know that he was really the English word is missing, wertschätzen, appreciating everybody's individuality, to grow individually. Not only his disciples, everybody he met, he was just seeing the person, seeing where that person is, and trying to help that person where he is, to grow. And the empowerment part is he led by his example. The two most overwhelming qualities I know of his is that he was able to unite the devotees, and this is not always an easy task. He was able to unite the devotees, and he was stressing we should carry on. We should carry on. Everybody should do his or her part in carry on the desire of Srila Prabhupada to overflood the world with Krishna consciousness. So I'd like to read one short quote of Srila Prabhupada about following the spiritual master. It's from the 4th canto, 28th chapter. When one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained before, this means meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the instruction of the spiritual master. This is technically called Vani Seva. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states in his Bhagavad Gita commentary on the verse Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana that one should serve the words of the spiritual master. The disciple must stick to whatever the spiritual master orders. Simply by following on that line, one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And for me, when I thought about His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, I was thinking that actually he was somebody who was following his spiritual master like that, and with that Ekeha mentality, and he was encouraging and empowering all of us to do the same. And yes, the association of such exalted devotees is extremely rare. And yes, we lost the most precious opportunity of this association. But this pain that we might feel mustn't paralyze us. It can make us even stronger. Because we all have experienced his love. We were lovingly and unconditionally accepted by him. And we all have been unforgettably encouraged by his exemplary life, by his enthusiastic preaching. And we all can feel empowerment because of his great compassion. So I'm very grateful so that somebody who is in the spiritual world knows me, and I very much hope that he remembers me. And to end, I would tell you a very little thing about what personality he was. Last Bhakti retreat, he couldn't attend, so Jayadvaita Maharaj, his spiritual master, decided to come instead of him, something like to replace him. But that was actually not the real purpose. So I went into Jayadvaita Maharaj's room when he was there, and I thanked him for coming and for somehow, coming instead of his disciple and replacing him. And then he said, "Oh, I could never replace him. He can do these things so much better than me." And he was glorifying him that he was. And I could see how, at the same time, Jayadvaita Maharaj was so proud of his disciple, and also sad. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj Ki.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shivananda Prabhu. It's a beautiful bhajan and words. Next, we would like to hear from Gaura Leela Prabhu. He's not able to come today because he has a Mahabharat performance in Lucerne. But he was here yesterday, and we recorded a short clip. It's because Gaura Leela Prabhu, of course, you all know him. He's also a senior devotee of our Yatra, and in the mid-80s till mid-90s, Gaura Leela lived and served in Mayapur, and together with Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, they did a lot of service together. And so we requested him to say a few words. I think it's only about 4 minutes. I was hoping he will share a bit more, but we have some input, some encouragement from him as well.
Vielleicht kann ich bei anderen schnell reden, vom Laptop schnell. Vielleicht kann ich zwischen jemand anders.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So then, when we first, Adam would like to request Jai Gopal Prabhu to say a few words before we watch the video. Yeah? Jai Gopal Prabhu, of course many of you know him also. Prabhu served as a personal servant of His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj, and I'm sure Sachinanda Maharaj and Kadamba Kanana Swami were so close friends. I'm sure Jai Gopal has also a lot of interactions and experiences with Maharaj, so we're happy to hear from him about his memories of Maharaj.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vanchakalpadarupascha Kripasindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, yeah, we are. I remember one other great devotee who already had left. When he was leaving, I don't know if some of you knew him, Radhakund Prabhu, a Prabhupada disciple. He was often in Vrindavan, very eccentric devotee, special devotee. When he was leaving his body, he was blissful and having pity on all the other devotees. I'm going back to Godhead and you need to stay in the material world. So, Lucky Maharaj, he went back to Krishna and we are still in the material world here. Missing him so much, missing his association, missing his, as all you devotees who had spoken already, his encouraging, empowering and very powerful way of, and loving way of presenting Krishna consciousness. For me, Kadamba Kanana Maharaj was always, I always looked at him with two eyes, one very happy eye to see him, and also one very, this is going to be very intense. Like, you went to his kirtan, and often I was in the role to play mridanga for him, and it was the first 5 minutes was single speed, and the next 2 hours was double speed. And one of those, for me, one of the kirtan which I remembered with him was in the Serbian summer camp, and literally it felt like the whole ceiling will be blown away. And it was one of those kirtans on the Holy Name Day when we had like 10 or 12 hours kirtan. It was in the evening, and it was 5 minutes slow and then just boom, and stayed there and faster, and he would look at me, you know, like go on, you know. And the amazing thing was, at one point he would get up and start dancing, and he would start singing Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinath, Madana Mohan, and he was just like, all the devotees went mad, and he was going mad. It was just one of those beyond amazing kirtans which were not in this material world anymore. And I remember after this kirtan, I just kind of dropped over like that. I was just like finished. And then afterwards, he was sitting outside. It was like a stone wall and the grass. He was sitting there, and I came to him like almost limping, and he was like, you know, not apologizing, but having sympathy with me, you know. And then I mentioned, oh Maharaj, that was so amazing when you started singing Jaya Radha Jaya, Krishna Jaya Vrindavan, and he was like, in a bit of a smiling mood. Yeah, it was. There were some other senior devotees there. I will not mention any names, but he said in a funny way, yeah, it was right in time when the police had left, we could sing this mantra. So, yeah, that's one of his joking ways and humorous ways, which I always very much appreciated. As devotees had mentioned, one of the qualities which I very much appreciate, which is very inspirational for me, which is like a role model, is how authentic and down-to-earth Kadamba Kanana Maharaj was. Like, many of you described it in a way how approachable he was, how natural, how accepting of anyone, and for me this comes out of these qualities of being so authentic and so down to earth, like really being with himself, expressing this as being an individual, encouraging other devotees to be who they are, to give an individual contribution. And I very much, and the amazing thing is, at the same time, he was such a advanced, elevated devotee of Krishna, which is not natural, because we can tend to lose ourselves with the high philosophy that we have, and we sometimes maybe forget where we are due to that high philosophy. But he was always on the ground, and at the same time he was so absorbed in Krishna consciousness and also in the philosophy. I also remember I had actually, because he also had joined the Serbian summer camp practically every year, and I was often there, and once he gave a class, and it was just a mind-blowing class, like of his philosophical understandings. And Satchidananda Maharaj was also there in the class, and he asked quite a also philosophically deep and challenging question, and it was like in a split second Maharaj gave an answer, and it's just like point 1, point 3, and how he answered, and my jaw just fell further and further down to the floor by the. He was. I guess he wouldn't like to be called like that, but he was really a Shastri devotee. He knew Shastra very, very well and very deeply. And also in the personal darshan, we had a question, Radhakripa and me, where he very eloquently could explain, based on Shastra, based on statements of other acharyas. And it wasn't like, okay, let me think, but like, bam, it came, the answer. He was very, very knowledgeable about the Shastras, and at the same time, again, totally down to earth. No thinking, oh, I know so much Shastra. Down to earth, authentic, and I think this is one very, very inspiring thing about Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, where we can take look at him as a role model to ourselves, be very authentic, down to earth, feel what does Krishna consciousness mean for me, and in the same way also preach Krishna consciousness in a way, like we heard from devotees, what does it mean for you? What is your individual contribution in Krishna consciousness? So I think this legacy of Kadamba Kanana Maharaj we should keep alive, always remember his mood and how he encouraged us, how he, in what mood he approached our devotee community. So that's, I had to try as best I could spontaneously. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj Ki Jai.
Dear Vaishnavis, dear Vaishnavas, dear mourning devotees of the loss of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami, Sometimes I'm a little bit angry with Krishna. I'm asking myself why he takes so valuable devotees so early away, who could have done still so much for our movement. I remember Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, and now Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, and many more. Of course, we say that the will of Krishna is not understandable for us, but also I know that Vaishnavas are very sad when another Vaishnava leaves. We all know this famous song, Iya Nilo Premadana Gokura Prachor, how the loss of a Vaishnava is mourned by the devotees. I remember Maharaj very well from the time we worked together for about 10 years. We kind of helped organizing the annual Gaur Purnima festival in Mayapur. He was like the powerful man behind, and I was more like the front person. And whenever there were difficult cases, very challenging cases, I could call him, and he was always able to settle that in a very nice way. As a person, I liked these two outstanding qualities, which is quite rare to see. On one hand, he was a powerful person, a kshatriya. He could fight, he could be tough. On the other hand, he was very mellow, very brahminical, very sweet, very charming, very humorous. He had big knowledge of shastras, very intelligent, very sweet bhajans. Often remember we had longer discussions about different challenging issues in ISKCON back in the 90s in Mayapur, and he was always able to clarify my questions, my inquiries, or sometimes even my doubts. This was for me very enriching. And then when he took sannyas, our meetings were a bit shorter because he started to have disciples, he started to be more busy. But always, whether it was here in Zurich or whether it was at Kintal during the Bhakti Retreat Festival, the exchange was very sweet. So yesterday evening when I come back home and got the notice, I was shocked. This is like an emptiness feeling, because I think like I'm not the only one who always hoped for a miracle. We read about, maybe half a year ago, he sent a message to everyone that he is having that cancer and he may not live very long, for a couple of months only. But as we know in the material world, miracles happen, sometimes in a way we don't expect. And as devotees of Krishna, we hope that Krishna might listen to the prayers of his devotees, that the Vaishnava can be longer with us. But for some reason, Krishna has taken him away from us. On the other hand, a Vaishnava teaches us how to live when he's alive, physically present, and he teaches us how to pass away when the time comes, because every one of us has to face that moment. It's sad that Maharaj had to go. On the other hand, he had a glorious life, and he had a glorious leaving this material world in Sri Vrindavan among Vaishnavas. So he was living a perfect life, and he was leaving us in a perfect way. So we should remember that wonderful example we can follow, get inspiration, and mainly we should be grateful for the association we could have when he was with us. All the very best to all of you. Hare Krishna, and may you be blessed by Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai.
Now we will turn over to Maharaj's disciples.
Should I stay here? No, you can sit. I would just like to sit on the floor. So yes, now we welcome Ilavati Mataji. She is a disciple of Kadamba Kanana Maharaj since a very long time with her daughter Smita Kishori. So we are very happy to hear her glorification.
So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I will try to express my feelings. I first met Maharaja 10 years ago at Bhakti Retreat in Heidelberg. And I was quite new in Krishna consciousness, and I was still not sure if this is really the right path for me, if I want to go deeper into Krishna consciousness in this time. And but Maharaja, with his kirtans and lectures, conquered my heart immediately. And then 1 year later, I was on the Bhakti retreat. It happens to be on the birthday of my daughter, Smita Kishori. I had my first darshan with him, without any intention to ask for shelter, without knowing what's going to happen at all. But he, with his very charming way, tricked me into it immediately. He told me, now we found each other and we are going to build a relationship. See me as your friend, as your well-wisher, and you have my email address so you can write me when you have questions. So this was my first darshan, and a lot of more. I didn't even realize that he accepted me. How fallen I was and still am. In his lectures, Guru Maharaj would often address his devotees as many times. He will tell, you are gonna be a devotee no matter what. There is no escape. There is no way out. And this was his mission. As many of you maybe know, Maharaj has a lot of, he would say, somehow or other, a bit different kind of devotees. Some sort of a bit strange personalities, I would say. Some misfits in ISKCON. I was trying to find a more nicer word for total fallen souls, the total lost one. And this was his mission, and I had this feeling this is also what was his challenge, to give the mercy to those fallen souls that nobody wants to have as a disciple. Yeah. Once in Bhakti retreat, he saw me and he asked me, how are you? You look a bit exhausted. I was, yes, Maharaj, I am exhausted. I had to change my clothes 6 times before breakfast. And he was, oh, why? Why this? And I told him I had different kind of sevas to do, and those are sevas for him, and that's why I had always to change my clothes for different kind of stuff that I have to do. I was looking at me and he was, when you are doing seva for me, you don't have to wear sari. I don't care about that. You don't have to wear a sari when you're doing seva for me. And he never asked us, his disciples, to look like Vaishnava. He wants us to be a Vaishnava. He rescued my soul in many ways. he helped me to raise my child. And this time, Smita Kishori, although we have a very good relationship and always had, was already in puberty. So it was quite difficult time also for us. But Maharaja did miracles and turned her 180 degrees just as after first darshan with her. Yes, this was he. And I can't express how grateful I am just for this. And years after, I wanted to express my gratefulness for this to him. And I told him the story. And it was not me. It was Krishna talking to her through me. He was down to the earth and very practical. Once I was cooking for him in Bhakti retreat, and he told me already that he wants to have khichdi for lunch. But I didn't ask what time he wanted to have khichdi. Because as usually he had always his lunch at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I was thinking it will be at 2 o'clock. And then at 1 o'clock he sent his servant to ask me for lunch, and I told him the lunch will be ready at 2 o'clock. And then servant came back again to me and told me, Maharaj said, tell Ilavati, if she is not able to prepare khichdi in a half an hour, I will be there in the kitchen and do myself. That was he. It was fun. We laughed a lot with him. And he knew how to throw a party. His King's Day parties in Amsterdam are amazing, unforgettable. He would take his disciples, his ISKCON misfits, to pure Maya parties. And he will do in Amsterdam, in every street, all day long with us, from in the morning till evening, Harinam. He will take like 300 and more people with him. And we will go to any corner of Amsterdam. And he will also take us to red light corner in Amsterdam to make Harinam also there. And there is almost naked creature standing in the windows and staring at us, and we will scream loud as we can, Hare Krishna. And he was my hero, and still is. There is no words in these material words that I can express how grateful I am to have his in my life. This last year was very difficult for me. It was like dying every day with him together. And the last 3 weeks, unbearable. But on his departure day, I felt such a relief and a deep, deep bliss and realization. What a victory, and what a spiritual father that I have. It happens to be on my birthday. And I asked my Jyotish Guru if this has any meaning to me. And he told me, Yes, it is. That nimitta is the nimitta as spirit is the nimittas are the spiritual's nimittas. So that means your sadhana will increase. And I saw my guru laughing upon me. You are going to be a devotee no matter what. At his samadhi ceremony, really all the time I heard his voice and singing him aloud, the kirtan. And I was asking her, are they playing a tape? So I was hearing his voice all the time. And I felt his presence more than ever, and I still feel it. So, dear Guru Maharaj, this party will go on no matter what. Thank you so much.
His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki. So our next speaker is Smita Kishori.
When I first met Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, I was quite young, as many of you know. I just hit puberty, and I thought I'm a grown-up person now, and I don't need to follow any rules. So one day Maharaj came to me and said, "How long do I have to wait for you to talk to me?" Nervously I started to smile and I asked, "Why do you want to have a talk?" And he simply answered, "Because there is a bond." And told me a time, a place, and he just left. So I went to my first darshan without even knowing what a spiritual master is. So obviously I didn't know what I should say or ask. And even less I knew what Maharaj would give to me in that one talk. So I just sat there super quiet when he started to laugh, and he took over the conversation with the question, "So why are you trying not to be a devotee?" I looked at him in his eyes. There was no judge. There was just pure kindness. So I opened up. We had a long discussion about rules and regulations, about trying out what is there in this world to try. And I even said to him, I always have to follow the rules of my mom. I would be stupid to freely join a society with more rules than my mom gives me. At that moment, we were laughing really hardly, both. And he started to talk about his youth, his childhood, and how he came to Krishna consciousness. And he even included the sentence, "A rebellious soul as mine." On that day, he made me promise to add Krishna every day a little bit more into my life. And he promised me that by doing that step by step, I will see positive changes in my life. He knew that all we need is Krishna. He didn't judge or try to change us to be closer, to look like the fit of a devotee. In our God family, we often joked that we were misfits, that we were a group of otherwise wouldn't have found a place in ISKCON without him. And he embraced us with open arms. His policy was always strict to himself and light with others, except for Mridanga players. So I followed my first instruction. It didn't take long time, and my life changed. I changed. So I asked for shelter, and he answered with, "So you feel that bond too?" and welcomed me with open heart into his family. Maharaj was so personal with us. He always encouraged us to be our true self, not to lose our personality, because this is what makes us individuals. Once he said, "A Brazilian jungle has more beauty than a perfect organized English garden." And he also would never forget anything we ever talked. I have 2 small memories showing this to me. The first is when I turned 18. He came to me, put his garland around me, as he always did, and said, "That's the last one, 'cause finally you're a grown-up woman, as you always wanted to be." And the second one was from our first initiation, where he told to me afterwards, "You see, I fixed your problems." He pointed at my mom, and he said, "She's your sister now." He smiled quickly and added, "But the older one." So she is still in charge of the house rules. We both just smiled and remembered my rebellious puberty phase in this lifetime. Yeah. So, yeah, this is just a goodbye for now. I really look forward to see my guru and to have kirtans together, make jokes as we always did, and simply just be with him. Until then, I will find him in my heart, and I will always try to remember everything he ever said to me. And also he wrote some months ago to me, "Smita Kishori, I will be there. You will meet me in devotional service, in chanting japa, in my words, in kirtans, and when you take shelter of Srila Prabhupada, because I'm always at his lotus feet." So, I guess we talk soon again, Maharaj. Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So our next speaker is Raseshwari. Guru Maharaj was her Shiksha Guru, and they had a very special bond. And yes.
Hare Krishna. I would like to share a few memories which I had with His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. Actually, well, it will be more of our story, our interactions. I found them very encouraging and different, and they always recharged me in my life in Krishna consciousness. We first met approximately 6-7 years ago, and it was already when I was back in Europe and in Slovenia for the Holy Name Festival. And that time he was, for me it was my first meeting, so I always liked his kirtans, but I always wanted to see him, but then it happened, and I was traveling with Harinam Ruchi group, and Harinam Ruchi group, they really liked Maharaj's station, so we tried to catch him in many places, in Rathayatras or festivals. So that summer I got to see him in different spots in Europe. And then later on, we asked him if I can talk with him. And then he said, "Yeah, of course, then find me later." And then one of his servants comes to me later on, and then he mentioned, he told me, "Oh, Maharaj is looking for you." He told me to find this tall Ruchi girl, and that's how he used to call me at first, before knowing my name. And from then we started to have our relationship association. I saw him and we met in many different festivals, programs, and he would tell me, "I can't keep up with you, you're everywhere." And I see it, I see you on Facebook, like I see that you're moving all the time, on, and I was like, "Well, Maharaj, I'm actually following you most of the time." And then after a few years, because I felt this connection very strongly, and then I was confused because I already was initiated. I had my Diksha Guru, and then I asked Maharaj for darshan, and then we sat. It was also in Slovenia. We sat outside, and he's like, "What's up?" I said, "Well, Maharaj, I don't know how it is. I am willing to have more of your association, and what is there any rules, or how does it have to be official about Shiksha, Diksha Gurus, and how does it work?" And then he told me, "I don't like this all official stuff, I'm here, and we know each other very well, and you can consider me as your uncle, because your father is far, he's in America, but I'm always around somehow, or you are. And and with the uncle and niece relationship, you don't always have to follow my instructions, and so it's like a win-win situation, You don't, it's not so direct and strict." And we had a relationship like that, and I happened to be on a few parikrams with him in Vrindavan, and then we went also to Jaipur, and in Jaipur, I don't know how did that happen, but somehow I was in charge of one of the buses, and it was bus number 1 with Maharaj in the bus, and then our bus broke, and it was the whole rearrangement situation, and then he was watching me, and I can see that he's watching me, and I'm like, what do I do? But he was very kind and helpful and encouraging me, and then at the end he said, "Oh, you're a good manager," and in this way he was pleased. At one point, he wanted me to go to New York to help him out with the project there, but later on it just smoothly didn't happen. Few years ago, not few years ago, it was winter festival in Simachalam, the Sankirtan festival on which they have on Christmas. It was not this year, but the year before. And there, during one of the lectures, Maharaj was giving, and I was, during that time, I was sitting just close by, opposite, and I was making this big necklace from Tulsi beads for Narasimhadev. And during the whole class, and then I was able to complete it, and Maharaj, after giving the class, and then there was Suri also, and Suri was trying to come to Maharaj and ask him a question, something about the book, and then Maharaj told him, wait, I need to talk with her. He comes to me, and he said, "Oh, I can see you're working with Tulsi," and he takes out his beads, and he says, "Look at this. Can you fix this?" And there was some. Had to do something there. And then I said, "Oh, I will try." And then he gives me his beads. And actually, during the whole class, the point which he was making is that devotees shouldn't say the words "we will try." We should really do it. And then, this "I will try," it was in my mind already, and I was like, "Okay, I can try." And then he laughed. He realized that I'm like saying exactly opposite of what he was saying in the class. And he said, "Yes, you try." And somehow with Narasimhadev's blessings, it worked. So I was able to fix it. And then I was coming to his room, knocked the door. I was with Anukampana there, and knocked the door, and then Maharaj comes, and I said, "I did it." And then I'm giving him the beads, and he says, "Thank you. Now my name is Kadamba Kanana Swami." So he was always able to find jokes in any various kind of situations, and it was probably the best moment of my life. Then one of the, actually it is prior to that, before that, it was, I came here to Switzerland in general by his blessings. It was, because I knew he comes here sometimes, and then I was just thinking about it, and then I asked him during Parikram in 2018, Kartik, what he thinks about Switzerland, Zurich Temple, and yeah, he encouraged me. He said, "It's a good place for you. I think you can you can try." So I did, and I came, but it was like not because of him, but with his blessings. Then last 6 months I was in India with him. We went on Radhashtami because he invited all of the disciples, well-wishers, and we went for Radhashtami, for Parikram, and some of us stayed longer. On the first day of Parikram, I think it was Ravel. Was it Ravel? Yeah. Ravel, and then Maharaj, after giving the lecture, he would walk around, and he started stopping by some disciples and devotees, and he would have a short interactions, like say few things, few words. And then somehow it happened that he stopped by me as well, and then he looks at me and he says, "So, King's Day, huh?" I said, "Yes, King's Day." He said, "Okay, now you inherited it from me, and you have to go. You have to do it for me, and because we cannot neglect Amsterdam." So this was one of the instructions, the first instructions in India this time, which he gave me, and hopefully Krishna allows me to follow it in some way. Later on, during my stay there in India, I somehow got a chance to do some service for him. It was making garlands for his Giriraj. We all know that he loved his Giriraj a lot, and he wanted to engage as many devotees as possible. He always said, "It's not me who is worshipping Giriraj, we are doing it together." And in his last months of life, he actually he always said that, "I just want to focus on my puja. It is very important for me." So I was able to assist him in this way. It was not that easy because he's very specific about what he wants, and he has a very high taste of what he thinks is good. And Vrindavan is also, many of us been there. You know that, okay, yes, there is a season when the flowers are there, and it's possible to find something like this size, but Giriraj, he's tiny, and I always had to get the tiniest little things I could ever find, and I had to climb fences. I torn so many of my clothes just because I was illegally sneaking in someone's gardens in Goshala. I had to be at night because like they would kick me out, and so many occasions the people were angry with me that I'm taking some flowers, but at the same time, that's the one side of the service. But the other side of the service was that because of this, I was able to see Vrindavan differently. I was able to see Vrindavan I was able to see fields on a daily basis. I was able to see peacocks just flying freely, and nilgais and snakes sometimes, and all this part which is usually covered from us, or at least like you really have to go to the forest to see this. And I was very grateful and thankful to Maharaj about this. I mentioned it to him, and he said, yes, that's how Vrindavan was when I just arrived, when I just came. So I'm happy you're experiencing it also. He wouldn't tell me directly, but there was several occasions where Maharaj actually mentioned me to other devotees also regarding this service. And it's not that I'm trying to say, oh, I'm like, I was... it is what it is, and it was what he said. And then there was occasion when one group of ladies, they were decorating the altar, and then one specific devotee, she made a garland for Giriraj, and then Maharaj told her, you don't make garlands for Giriraj. You have to go to Raseshwari. She's the queen of the garlands. You have to always only approach her. And if you ever want to make something for Giriraj, you have to ask her. I was not there, and then when I came, everyone were like, it was like 10 of the devotees there, and then I felt attacked or something. Like they like approached me from different ways. Like, you know what Maharaj said? You know what Maharaj said? He called you like this and like that. I was like, okay. I didn't. But he wouldn't tell it to me directly, of course, so I wouldn't be too proud. And in one of the darshans, last darshan, I asked Maharaj for advice, because now I was coming back to Switzerland to take up a little bit more responsibility, to take up service, which would require to have more responsibilities. So I asked for advice. How can I do this? I told him, everyone is senior to me. I'm here, like the most of the devotees with whom I will have to deal, they are really like senior. And then he said, when I became a temple president in Vrindavan, everyone was senior to me. Everyone was Srila Prabhupada disciples. And then he said, you just need to be kind and stick to your words, and always follow the rules. In this way he encouraged me, and then I thought, okay, maybe I can do it. And sorry, I'm taking more little time. a few more things. There was an occasion. Jayadvaita Maharaj, he had a desire to that Kadamba Kanana Swami has a tulsi plant in his apartment. And it was just 1.5 months before I left. 1 month, maybe. And the servant of Maharaj, he asked me to get a tulsi plant. And I said, okay, I can try. So, but because I was already exposed to the service of doing the flowers and everything like that, so I already knew even where can I find tulsi. It was in Goshala, and they have a tulsi house there. So I thought, okay, they are all Indian and they don't speak English, and I don't want to mess up this service. So I had to find someone who speaks Hindi to come with this person and ask for Tulsi Maharani, and somehow they just gave her, and I was very happy. Okay, I got it. Now I'm going to the apartment of Maharaj, and I see, oh, Jayadvaita Maharaj is still there. I can see his shoes. They were reading together. And then I thought, okay, I come later. I come once he eats lunch. And then I come home. I lived very close, like 2 minutes away. And then I put tulsi on the table. And I see my hands, and they're all covered in dust or like in dry clay. And I thought, okay, now I have to change the pot. I cannot give tulsi like this. He wouldn't, like Maharaj always wanted us to do everything perfectly. And whatever we offer. And then I found the pot, I found everything what was needed, and I replanted Tulsi Maharani. And then next day I come to Maharaj, and I asked for help of his servant, because Maharaj was in the room, and I say, Maharaj comes out and he says, what's this? I'm standing there with Tulsi Maharani, and I'm like, that's Tulsi. He says, that I can see. Why? And then I said, they asked me to do it. They asked me to bring her, to find her. And then he says, oh, Jayadvaita Maharaj, he was trying to talk me into it for a while, and I was just ignoring it. Because the situation is that every plant I have ever touched died. And he says, I cannot take care of it. I said, well, you have a full house of boys, they could maybe look after her. And then he said, yeah, that's true, okay, put her there. So I put Tulsi Maharani there, and then later on they already found a special light for her, because it's dark apartment, and then everything, she was looking good, flourishing. And then just last Monday, or Monday before, on the 27th of March, in the daily health update, we received a message which contained this information. Maharaj has Tulsi Devi in his room. Yesterday he had turned to Burjan Prabhu and said, every plant I ever touched always died, but somehow Tulsi is staying here. Burjan Prabhu had replied, but you have inspired so many Bhakti Latas to flourish. Yesterday, during the procession to the Samadhi of Maharaj, I noticed one thing, and that Tulsi Maharani was there. They were carrying her also, and in this way I felt that part of me, part of my offering is also still there with him. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to do services like that. Just 2 more small points. When I came to him shortly before leaving and I asked him to sign books, because I got the books like very early in the Parikram days. It was 6 months ago, but then I was still waiting because he was overwhelmed with the amount of people coming, and then I waited until the last moment, and the books were there in the apartment for a while, and then I reminded him, and he said, "All right, okay, let me do it now." And then there was still a lot of devotees around, and he is signing the book, one book, and then I can see that he's uncomfortable. Then someone is trying to talk with him, and then he's like, he's trying to focus, and then I see that he's uncomfortable, and I guess it was 2 books, and I tell him, okay, no need for a second one. And he's like, stop it, I will do it. And then she just like, stop this nonsense. And then he signed the second book. And then next day I come to him. I'm bringing the garlands, and it was at that same day I was leaving to Mayapur, and my desire was to come 2 more times before I would go to Switzerland to see him, because everything was still okay. And the programs were going on, so I thought, okay, I have 2 more programs to attend. And then I bring the garlands, I knock the door, I enter, I pay obeisances. He's sitting right there talking with one of his disciples, and I tell him, "Oh Maharaj, I just brought my last garlands. I will just put it in the fridge," because usually I would do it in the morning, but then that was evening, so I had to leave it in the fridge. And then he says, "Why do you have to be so dramatic? My last garlands." And I said, "Oh, sorry." And then he was like still going on saying something I couldn't hear because I was already in the kitchen putting the garlands in the fridge. And then I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry, it's last garlands for now." And he said, "Oh, thank you so much for adding this. Thank you for adding for now. Now I feel better." And then I told him, "Okay, thank you so much. I will see you once I get back. I will see you soon. Haribol." And that was the last time I saw him. And he said, "Yeah, Haribol, see you later." And then, yeah, never made it to any other programs because there was no any. And now, even though I was not there physically, I'm still very grateful for all the opportunities to serve Maharaj, and he encouraged me in many ways. Of course, there is no need to mention how amazing his classes was, how his kirtans was, and then he always was the best in whatever he did, and I'm just gonna miss him a lot. But he looked very, not sure if everyone saw, but yesterday in the way how he looked when they were bringing him to Samadhi, there was a smile on his face. He knew what's happening, and he was going back home. I never saw, and I'm not saying that I saw so many people in this condition, but I was scared of this before, but then when I saw it, it changed my heart also, because he was so blissful and happy. Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj Ki. So now we would like to welcome Dhiranath Prabhu, his wife, and his wife Varshalila Mataji, and him. They got initiation 2022 in Radesh. So yes.
नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते कदम्ब कन्नन स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले गुरुदास जयद्वैत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। To all Vaishnavas assembled here and to all senior devotees, please offer our humble obeisances. Firstly, it's actually a real honor and privilege to talk about our Gurudev, Sri Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj. Honestly speaking, I'm quite emotional at this moment, unable to process the fact that Maharaj is no more in the material world. But still, nevertheless, I will try my best. We will try our best to share our thoughts in this memorial gathering. When we saw the message a couple of days ago, as communicated by His Holiness Keshav Swami Maharaj, that Maharaj, Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj departs on 9th of March, 12:06 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So initially, as I said, we were unable to process the fact that Maharaj was no more. But later, when we realized that this was the same date and same time when 450 years ago, there was a devotee called Saint Tukaram in Maharashtra, India, who went to Golok or the Vaikunta alive. He was taken personally by Vishnu himself to his abode. And so is Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj. Maharaj, actually, when we were unfortunate that we were not there in Vrindavan, but due to the association of some senior devotees who were present with Maharaj in his final moments, they told us one thing, that Maharaj has planned everything in his life, right from the date that he entered into Krishna consciousness till his departure, as perfect as he could. He was planning for his departure in a perfect way. He held every ounce of his vital energy till that right moment to leave. And in the midst of so many senior devotees, kirtans, he departed in a glorious way from this material world. As His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj says, passing away of the spiritual master is a glorious celebration to his disciples. And we all know that Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj has left an everlasting legacy to his disciples and all the devotees in this world. It was during our last parikrama in Vrindavan in 2022 September. That was the first day of our parikrama. We were in Brahmanda Ghat, the very place where Krishna ate clay. So Maharaj gave a glorious kirtan as always, and that was the first speech during the parikrama, and Maharaj says, thank you all disciples for coming here, respecting my request. I just played a little trick or drama that I'm not keeping well, and you all flew to India, Vrindavan. So Maharaj can find really, we all knew that he was suffering from 4th stage cancer and he might not live long, but still Maharaj can find humor even in such occasions when he said, okay, this is just a drama which I created and you all just came to see me in Vrindavan. What really helped me and my wife and maybe to some of the new disciples in Krishna consciousness movement during that Vrindavan Parikrama was to realize the eternal connection to Vrindavan Dham. Every place Maharaj took us, he always told us that we all have this eternal connection to our spiritual master and to Lord Krishna. So this was that connection that we were developing in every place that we went to Maharaj in that parikrama, and this was one thing which I can never forget. That transcendental connection to Vrindavan, it really helps and shapes our lives in Krishna consciousness. And as we know, needless to say this, that Maharaj's kirtans were just extraordinary. They're out of this world. And there was this incident which I have never shared with anyone so far. It was Maharaj's last day in Radhadesh last year. He was planning to go to Vrindavan for the Radhastami, and in Radhadesh, that was his last kirtan in the DT hall. It was an ecstatic kirtan. I mean, unbelievable. As one of the Prabhus was telling, the roof might go away. I mean, it was such an ecstatic kirtan. There was joy in all devotees' face. They were dancing. So in that mood of ecstasy, I mean, a conditioned soul like me, I was just thinking that, Krishna, I'm pretty sure that you are here somewhere in the hall. Maharaj is giving such a beautiful kirtan to such a conditioned soul like me. Can you just give me a hint that you are present? Maybe a light turning off or on. I was just thinking, I was just so immature that I was actually testing Krishna whether he is there or not. And I was sitting exactly in the center of the chandelier in Radhadesh. It was a big one. And believe it or not, after 5 minutes, it turned off and on. There can be a rational explanation for this. Maybe it could be a loose connection or an electricity off and on. It's still there in that Radhadesh video. And I was unable to process this information that I got a signal. I think Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj's kirtans opens us to a spiritual realm. Actually, Maharaj also gave a bonfire kirtan later on during the day before leaving Radhadesh, and in that he clearly explained that kirtans will actually open the spiritual realm and we forget our material life miseries. So this was one thing actually which always inspired us, that we develop a relationship to Krishna through listening to Maharaj's kirtans. His kirtan service has always awakened conditioned souls like me and made me to realize our eternal condition to the Lord. They have been guiding light to us in this chaotic Kali Yuga. In his shelter, we always get courage to fight against our own anarthas, inabilities, and maya around us. In every instance, Maharaj has always been there and taken care of his disciples directly or indirectly. Even though his health was deteriorating and was going downhill in the last few weeks, the one thing Maharaj did not stop was doing his 16 rounds of japa. I was hearing it from Jayadvaita Maharaj, I think maybe yesterday or today, after the procession. Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj, his Gurudev himself told, Maharaj was not eating since many days. There was tremendous pain in his body because there is no medication. Maharaj himself told Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj that, okay, consider one bead as one round because you don't have energy. But Maharaj refused and told, Maharaj, please don't do this to me. He was still focused in finishing his rounds till his last breath. And this is a very big learning for beginner devotees like me, to have that focus in chanting japa. And Maharaj used to say to all his disciples that the best rounds of japa are done before Mangal Harati. And the other thing Maharaj always wanted his disciples is to be a beacon of compassion and to be merciful at all times. He is a pioneer in the Krishna consciousness movement. He did not limit himself to one place, one country. He traveled across the world, across Europe, South Africa, United States of America, India. He made disciples everywhere. He used to say, a sannyasi shall travel extensively to preach Krishna and spreading Krishna Prem. The last word which Maharaj uttered before he left this material world was mission. What do we mean by mission? It is indicative of the fact that Maharaj surrendered his life to the fulfillment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. He is undoubtedly a great servant of Srila Prabhupada's vision and a great disciple to his Gurudev. As His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj himself says, I am proud to have a disciple like Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj, and I am happy to have served him in this lifetime. So in this regard, just to end, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that one who is serious about spiritual life is given by Krishna the intelligence to come in contact with bona fide spiritual master. And then, by the grace of spiritual master, one becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness. We all know that it was only due to the mercy of Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj we got this good fortune in every step of our lives. We always depend on his grace. Let us pray that in this lifetime we all serve him by sincerely following and living up to his instructions. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. His Holiness Sri Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to speak about my beloved Guru Maharaj. For me, the first encounter with Maharaj was not in an assembly of Vaishnava or a kirtan, nor a lecture, but rather it was a picture at his disciple's house, which was just on a visit to an Indian family here in Germany I have seen. It was quite an intriguing moment for me as to see a white man in a saffron robe. That was a rare sight and understanding for me then. But somehow he caught my attention and I could not resist myself. So I politely inquired, who is he? In some way, that picture encounter with Maharaj was a blessing on me that I could start my Krishna conscious life. Following that, first, I met Maharaj in October 2020 in Simhachalam. It was a special meeting. He was very casual and friendly. He made me feel right at home. As his nature, he spoke fluently in Hindi and he was speaking all about Krishna, our hometowns, and how he took stones and marbles from my hometown and used them for Prabhupada Samadhi Mandir. In Simhachalam itself, he gave that day a very ecstatic, melodious kirtan, and at that moment itself, I know that somewhere from that picture which I saw, he entered from that picture to my heart. His energy and smile was infectious, and for me, he was a very friendly, jolly, more than spiritual master. I used to see him at times as my father. Sometimes I just don't know what he's saying. I just keep on staring on him. He was so captivating. He accepting me and giving shelter was an act of his absolute mercy. Although I joined Maharaj's family very recently, but he gave me ample time, association, and memories to treasure in my heart forever. As before also, Prabhuji were saying that Maharaj takes this time to interact with everyone, to let them feel at home, to make them feel at ease and be a part of this family. So however late it was, I remember once I asked Maharaj that, Maharaj, now I think I've joined very late, I've come very late. And then he said, no, it's still not late. There's still a lot to be done. His passing away is a very big loss, but more and more I feel happy that he is currently having beautiful moments with Prabhupada, Mahaprabhu and Krishna, serving them directly. We all have seen and known that Maharaj has dedicated his life completely in the service of Guru and Gauranga, in spreading this Sankirtan movement and Mahaprabhu's mercy far and wide. His unflinching faith and countless devotional services finally led him with the glorious end of this material life. He has lived a very inspirational life and left us with many inspirations to carry on with our spiritual journey. But still the feeling is sinking. It has not sinking that he is gone. We will not see him anymore. No more Saturdays Zoom class. No more Kirtans or Rath Yatras. But then his books, Kirtans, lectures are a great source of comfort and self-assurance. In past couple of weeks, when Maharaj was preparing to leave his body, it was like I was also suffering with him. The only source of comfort for me at that time was this book written by Maharaj under the Desire Tree. Whenever I was reading it, I could still recollect and remember our time in Vrindavan Parikrama. In his last message also, he confirms the same, and he says he will be waiting for all of us to join the party. So before I meet him again, I wish to fulfill his expectation. I sincerely bow down and pray to Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Maharani, Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and to all the Vaishnava here. So kindly bless us that we live with the instruction of our spiritual master and meet him soon. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki. So now we have Pavitra. Before we show the video of Guru Maharaj, she will also read the departure chart of Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj told to one of his disciples that when he leaves, she should talk about his glorious departure. So yes, she will also read that.
Hare Krishna. I wrote a letter for Guru Maharaj, but I think I have to shorten it a little bit because we don't have so much time. I got to know Maharaj only 2 years ago, and sometimes I'm a little bit sad that I missed all of his parikrams and so many kirtans because I've never been in Vrindavan with him, but I think it's okay in the way it is, and it's just to accept like that. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who has opened my eyes which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of knowledge. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to you, Guru Maharaj, from the bottom of my heart. I still remember exactly how we first met at the Bhakti retreat. I knew immediately that you are my spiritual master. We had the first exchange of words in front of the shoe rack, only very briefly, but I was immediately captivated by your wonderful, incomparable character. Although I felt that I could only imagine you as a guru, I felt it somehow inappropriate to already ask you so quickly if you would allow me to take shelter at your lotus feet. When you then told me at the first darshan that I would be very welcome in your family if I want to, I was speechless. I don't know how I deserve all of this mercy, and I think I'm not able to to give back all that what you have given me in the last 2 years. In Radhadesh 22, we have already received a message about your state of health. Since it was not possible for me to come to Vrindavan in summer, a god sister advised me not to go to the Bhakti retreat this year and to visit you in London instead. When I told you this during a short darshan, you said immediately, "Why shouldn't you go to the Bhakti retreat? My spiritual master, as well as my disciple, Keshav Swami, will be there, and I will be represented by them both. There is no reason not to go. I will speak through them and be present. I will never forget these words he said, and it shows that the spiritual master is always with us, through other devotees, his books, lectures, in dreams, and of course in the heart. And you also said you always meet your spiritual master in your devotional service. We only saw each other 4 times, but I take away so much from every meeting, unforgettable moments. There is one quote of Bhakti Charu Swami that says, "When you come before your spiritual master, be prepared to get chastised." Spiritual master's business is to do that. Shishya means who is ready is accept shashan, or ready for getting chastisement. Hearing this statement made me think of the following situation in your kirtan on Janmashtami in Radhadesh. Together with some god siblings, I was allowed to sit with you in the temple room and sing. One Mataji handed me her phone and asked me to take some photos of her sitting next to you and playing kartals. I didn't think much of it, took her cell phone and started taking photos. Suddenly, while playing the harmonium, you made gestures into my direction again and again. I didn't know what you were trying to tell me until you suddenly stopped playing and said to me, "Don't take photos, sit down and sing." That was a clear instruction, and your voice was sharp at that moment. I immediately sat down in front of you and started to sing. After the kirtan, this Mataji then told me that as soon as I sat down and sang, you smiled softly and were completely satisfied again. Luckily, because I didn't want to annoy you in no way. You left us so many lectures on YouTube, and this is a wonderful gift. In this way and through your books, we all can absorb so many of your instructions, and by following them, make our contribution to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's and Srila Prabhupada's mission. The last word you said was mission. His Holiness Chaitanya Swami said in his short talk about you after the Samadhi ceremony that you showed us how to make the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada our life and soul, and that's exactly what we all should do. Contribute to the Krishna consciousness movement whatever is possible for us, and serve and chant the holy names of Krishna like you did. Like Jayadvaita Swami said, you served Srila Prabhupada and Krishna more than most of us can ever dream about. You gave your energy and heart not only for your disciples, but just for everyone. You have enriched the movement for Krishna consciousness with your loving, uncomplicated, kind, humorous, but nonetheless fixed and conscientious way, and we will all miss you, your ecstatic kirtans and your wonderful lectures. You are at the same time our master, friend, well-wisher, father, and you give us an incredible amount of teaching and love on our way. To put a deep gratitude to you into words is impossible, and that's why I try to show you this every day through thoughts and prayers. There is so much more to say, but I wanted to end with some quotes about the importance of Vani Seva, but due to time, okay, I will read them. So there are 2 ones from Srila Prabhupada, and one is, I understand that you are feeling my absence. Krishna will give you strength. Physical presence is immaterial. Presence of the transcendental sound received from the spiritual master should be the guidance of life that will make our spiritual life successful. This was in 1967. And then in 1970, Srila Prabhupada talked in a lecture, in the absence of physical presentation of the spiritual master, the Vani Seva is more important. My spiritual master, Saraswati Goswami, may appear to be physically not present, but still I try to serve his instruction. I never feel separated from him. And then there was a letter to Hamsadutta in Los Angeles, also in 1970. We are not separated actually. There are two, Vani or Vapu. So Vapu is physical presence and Vani is presence by the vibration, but they are all the same. So Krishna, when he was physically present before Arjuna, is the same when he is present before us by his Vani of Bhagavad Gita. So far I am concerned, I do not factually feel any separation from my spiritual master, because I am trying to serve him according to his desire. That should be the motto. If you kindly try to fulfill my mission for which you have been sent here, that will be our constant association. So, and then one god sister of us, Malika Malati Devidasi, she did Guru Maharaj's chart, and she wrote that on his disappearance day, she wrote like a letter, and I will read that shortly. The Jyotish astrological chart of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj's glorious departure. Today is a glorious day for our Guru Maharaj. So Guru Maharaj blessed me with his personal details of birth and told me when he leaves this world I should speak out about his glorious departure. So today Guru Maharaj left this material world, and it's very clear that he went to the highest abode of the spiritual world. This is what the chart shows. The ruler of the 7th house, which is representing the door, Dvara, to the other worlds, is the glorious Jupiter in a very high dignity, placed in the 10th house. Jupiter is positioned together with exalted Venus in Pisces, main Rashi, which means that the Princess Mean is praying to the Supreme Lord Krishna to become her husband. There are no curses upon those two planets mentioned above. Jupiter is representing knowledge and Supreme Lord himself, and Venus is exaltation, is representing pure love for Krishna. Ketu is Shunya, one who is floating above the material world to take pious qualified souls to the spiritual realm. Because Venus is in Parivartan, changing position with Ketu, that is resulting with two Parampara Yogas conjunction. So that means that two acharyas from our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya came to raise Guru Maharaj up to the spiritual abode. Guru Maharaj did not get up with his own hands, but he was raised by two acharyas from our Parampara. Guru Maharaj was always saying that Srila Prabhupada's and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy will be upon us and save us at the crucial moment of death. On several occasions, Guru Maharaj showed mercy upon me. This is when I was analyzing and discussing Guru Maharaj's chart with him. I told him how his astrological chart is tremendously similar to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's chart. He was aware of these facts. So besides the other similarities, I want to highlight this most exalted similarity, the unmad ecstatic love for Krishna. But Guru Maharaj gave me instructions that I should speak about the chart only after his departure. By the arrangement of the Supreme Will, today is Tukaram Jayanti, that is, On this auspicious day, Saint Tukaram aboarded with his very body on a spiritual plane to the spiritual world, with so many thousands of people witnessing the event. So that time has come. I would like to announce to the whole world that Guru Maharaj's departure is extremely glorious. Let's pray together as one family and celebrate the treasure all the glorious moments each day, year after year, with our beloved Guru Maharaj. Let's all offer our hearts and most importantly follow his instructions, as he is always watching and guiding us to join him in the spiritual realm one day, this lifetime. Let's all cooperate and take this magnificent movement of Srila Prabhupada forward in our own capacities for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also wrote a short stanza about the influence that a Vaishnava, a pure devotee of the Lord, carries in this world even after his passing. He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die, when thou art living, still and sound. The Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. Kadamba Kanana Swami ki jai.
So now we will have Guru Maharaj's video playing. He did this video 12 days before leaving his body. So he wanted that his Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. He wanted his disciples and well-wishers to be inspired also after he leaves this material world. So yes, we will watch it.
Saksur-militam yena tasmai Gurave namaha. Bancha kalpatarubhyacha kripa sindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaisnavebhyo namo namaha. Once Maharaj Pariksit was roaming his kingdom and came across a terrible scene. A scene where a cow had been attacked by some low-class dark man dressed like a king, who had with a stick broken the legs of a bull. Maharaj Pariksit, being a valiant king, immediately took action and was ready to fight that man in the royal dress. None other than Kali personified. Kali, instead of fighting, immediately fell at the feet of the king like a subordinate, not ready to fight. Maharaj Pariksit took full action and said Kali could not stay in the kingdom. Kali said, "What will I do? I took shelter. I am Praja. I exist. I've taken birth. I need to exist somewhere. Where can I exist?" Maharaj Pariksit thought that you can stay in 4 places. There where there is gambling, meat eating, illicit sex, and intoxication. There was no such place. Kali couldn't find such a place, so came back and said, where will I stay? Then Maharaj Pariksit said, okay, you can stay where gold is stored. From this 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada phrased the 4 regulative principles, which he formally introduced for his followers. As Srila Prabhupada was preaching to the modern world, he spelled it out, what to follow to become free from the influence of the age of Kali. Then Mahaprabhu gave the Yuga Dharma to chanting of the holy name, and not only that, Katanchana smite yasmin duskaram sukaram bhavet. He also added his mercy and made what is difficult easy. And so, the fundamental tenets of Krishna consciousness for the modern world took shape. 16 rounds minimum and 4 regulative principles. You all are the fortunate people, because you all came in touch with transcendental knowledge and with Vaishnavas. And as a result, you took up this process of sadhana bhakti, chanting Hare Krishna and following 4 regulative principles. Who in this world is prepared to live like that? But by Srila Prabhupada's and his followers' inspiration, we were ready. You were ready. You became the heroes. You are walking a heroic path, most glorious. Everything is blessed on the way. Nothing could be better. What a wonderful life have you been given. So I am very glad that I could be instrumental to inspire you to remain on that path. And through written, recorded words, recorded kirtan, and all else that remains behind, through the memories in your heart, I will continue to inspire you to stay on this path, through thick and thin. When all is blissful, when all is struggle, do not waver. It is, you got the greatest treasure. Never forget. Nowhere in this world is there such wealth. The wealthiest man in the world is a pauper. You have the real wealth. Treasure it, relish it, cherish it, hold it close. Hold it close. Don't become slack, neglectful. Hold it close. Chant every day. Hear every day. Carve these principles in stone. Let them be there every day. And your life will be wonderful. And at the end, go back to Godhead, and we can physically reunite and celebrate there like we never celebrated before. So looking forward to the great, great festival that is to come, where all of us will together and celebrate to another dimension, where the bliss will rise to levels never seen, never heard of. That time is not far away. Life is short. Prabhupada said, just give this one life to me. Please do that. Just give it. And everything will become most amazing. I'm saying goodbye to you for just a short time. For when we will be, I'll stay with you in my words and memories. I'll be with you on the path. And I'm waiting for you on the other end to meet you again in person. Soon, soon, miracles will happen. Soon, we will see love. We will see bliss. We will see fulfillment beyond our imagination, beyond our expectation. Remember Dhruva. When he met the Lord, all his previous expectations, he said, they're like broken pieces of glass. You gave me jewels. All we ever desired were broken pieces of glass. The Lord will give us jewels. Oh, stay on the path. Don't get lost. Come quickly. let us join this festival of Krishna, the festival of unlimited, ever-growing love. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare.
His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So now we will have Guru Puja, and we have some flowers here. So during the Guru Puja, you can offer flowers to Guru Maharaj. And after the Guru Puja, we will have Guru Arati and then a Prasadam feast in honor of Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Srila Gurudev. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Vando moe savadhana mate. Vando moe savadhana mate. Ya har prasad hai pai e bhava toriya. Krishna prapti hoya hoite. Guru mukha padma vagya chitete goriya kya. Ana kori ho mane asha. Ana kori ho mane asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati. Rati Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati. Ye prasad hai pure sarva asha. Ye prasad hai pure sarva asha. खुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से. खुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से. दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित. प्रेम भक्ति आहा होते अविद्या विनाशयते. प्रेम भक्ति आहा होते अविद्या विनाशयते. वेद गाया Yahara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Lokena Lokera Jivana Ha ha Prabhu Koro Doya Deho Mare Padha Chaya Ebe Ashakushu Tribhuvana Ebe Ashakushu Tribhuvana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Srila Gurudev Patita Pavana Jaya Gurudeva 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 Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva 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 Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Kadamba Kanana Swami Guru Maharaj Kadamba Kanana Swami Guru Maharaj Jaya Kadamba Kanana Swami Guru Maharaj Kadamba Kanana Swami Guru Maharaj Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachaline Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Pasyatyaadhishadarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachaline Nirvishesha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Thai Gaura Premanande.
Jaya Gauranita Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Jai Shishi Gaur Nitai ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachata Deshatarine